As you all know, the word stoma actually is a short name for a number of different stoma types. And so you know that there's ileostomy, there's colostomy, and there's urostomy. And whenever you would be talking to people in general, people don't tend to know the difference between the different stoma types. So I just thought I would give you some information as to why people might end up with a particular type of stoma. So if you have an ileostomy, or if some of your friends or family have an ileostomy, there's many different reasons why they could have ended up with that stoma type. One of the most common reasons would be ulcerative colitis, and that's where there's inflammation within the colon, and you would have a history of diarrhea and pain and maybe running to the toilet a lot, frequency of bowel motions, and you may well have had been on some medication to try and control that. Some people come to surgery sooner rather than later, and it's very much, there's no two people the same. So that would be one of the main reasons why people end up with an ileostomy, that they have had ulcerative colitis, that the disease can't be controlled, and that the colon has to be removed. And the aim of that surgery really would be to ensure that you are disease-free then after that. The ulcerative colitis only occurs within the large bowel, so once the large bowel is removed, people can live a normal, healthy, happy life with their ileostomy. Another reason for ileostomy formation would be Crohn's disease, and in some of those instances, the symptoms are very, very similar to ulcerative colitis. The diarrhea, abdominal pain, maybe bleeding from the back passage. And in some of the instances for Crohn's disease, it would only have to be a temporary stoma that people would be living with. And that would be because the surgeon's aim would be to remove the diseased part of colon or the diseased part of small bowel, and then join it up, and then allow all that to heal, have a stoma for a temporary time, and then to have it reversed. The unfortunate thing about Crohn's disease is that it can't be cured. It can occur anywhere from your mouth to your anus. So really from a surgery and a medication point of view, it's really to ensure that people are maintained and are able to live as normal and healthy a life as possible. Another reason for an ileostomy formation would be following a cancer diagnosis. And in those instances, it could be either a temporary or a permanent stoma. People who have been diagnosed with cancer, it can be a very sudden onset, and that they might not have a lot of time for preparation for surgery. A colostomy is maybe the most common name that people would hear in relation to stomas forming surgery. And one of the main reasons why people would end up with a colostomy would be for cancer. And that would be where they would have a tumour low down in the bowel, maybe towards your rectum and your anus. And depending on how up it is from the outside of your anus, it depends whether the stoma then would be permanent or temporary. If it is a permanent stoma, that would be the surgeon then would have to remove the rectum and anus, and you would have a wound at your back passage as well. Another reason why people would end up with a colostomy would be for diverticular disease. Within the colon, there's little pockets that can become inflamed and infected, and that can be a chronic condition or it can be a very acute condition where you develop severe abdominal pain overnight, and it would be an emergency operation. One of probably the most unknown stoma types would be urostomy, and that's because there's fewer numbers of people with a urostomy. But the actual impact of living with that stoma is no less than your colostomy or your ileostomy. One of the primary reasons why people end up with a urostomy is for bladder cancer. And a survey that we've been doing ourselves within my work environment is that we've found out that at least 50% of people with a urostomy, it is due to cancer, not just of the bladder, but of other organs within the body that may have spread towards the bladder as well. Another reason why people would end up with a urostomy would be due to genetic conditions, and that can be to do with spina bifida, or people that have got maybe other congenital abnormalities of the bladder and the ureters, and perhaps can't pass urine normally. A smaller number of people end up with a urostomy because of damage due to radiotherapy. So that was just a brief overview of some of the reasons why people end up with these various different types of stoma, and I hope you found that interesting.